Want to give a warm round of applause to all of the real ones, all of the Bears Now subscribers. We crossed 120,000 subs here on the channel over the weekend. We're humbled, myself, producer Colin, everybody else that has worked on this channel. We greatly appreciate it. So shout out to you for all our new subscribers. Turn on that notification bell. Just click the bell and select all. That way you always get notified on your phone or your tablet or whatever when we post a new video. And if you haven't subscribed yet, join the family. It's free. This is Bears Now by Chat Sports. I'm Harrison Graham. Omarion Hampton, the North Carolina running back, is at Halas Hall today, taking a top 30 draft visit, as you can see on his Instagram story right there. It was confirmed by other reporters as well, like Jordan Schultz and others. So let's dive in to the running back out of UNC, a player we've talked about a handful of times, certainly plenty on this show. I think a pretty clear-cut RB2 in this draft, and something I've mentioned a few times, and I'll mention it again here for those watching this channel for the first time, etc. I think what he did last year as an encore to 2023 without Drake May, without a good passing attack, I think it's just so impressive. I mean, he faced heavy boxes. Teams knew that North Carolina couldn't throw the ball consistently, and he was even better as a runner this past year. They also leaned on him more as a pass catcher because, again, without a dynamic passing attack, what do college offenses do? Screen game, dump it off to the running back, and he took on that load, almost had 2,000 or right around 2,000 all-purpose yards this past year. And a lot of times, you see this in the NFL, but in college football too, after a running back has a monster season, they'll kind of fall off the next year for whatever reason, wear and tear. You look at like an Ollie Gordon this year, right? Like he was coming into the year, a Doak Walker finalist, a guy who people viewed as a first-round talent, who I still really like, by the way, in the middle rounds. He didn't have nearly as good of a year this year after having a monster year a year ago, whereas not only did Hampton repeat what he did the year before, I thought he was even better, especially when you factor in that Drake May was not there and they did not have a consistent passing attack. He's got the combination of production, size, athleticism. Really the only weakness part of his game, and this is kind of a theme with most of the top backs in this draft, he's not great in pass pro. He's not horrible, but he's not great. And that's really true for all the top backs in this draft, except for TreVeyon Henderson. So for those of you who really like TreVeyon, that's a check mark in his column because he's really good in pass pro. I've just don't love the fit with DeAndre Swift, which we've outlined, although I've grown to accept the possibility if they do take him. I still like the player. But in terms of the pairing someone with Swift, I think Hampton would be a really, really good option. And listen, you know, we kind of outlined last week the worst-case scenario mock draft that really could play out on draft night, which would be, you know, only one quarterback going inside the top 10 here. Let's say the Saints opt to not go QB, and they take a Tyler Warren. Mike Green's gone. Obviously, Genty, Mason Graham, Will Campbell, and Mimbu are gone as well. I think that's a real scenario where the Bears do take Omarion Hampton at number 10. I think in that scenario that we just visualized on the screen for you guys, I think Hampton would be in a group of players that the Bears consider. They've brought in Shamar Stewart for a top 30, so I would guess he'd be in the mix, although that would make me gag. Trading down would certainly be something they would consider. Would Colston Loveland be in the mix there? Would Mykel Williams be in the mix there? I would certainly like that more than Shamar Stewart. Could a curveball be in there, like a safety or a Jahad Campbell or, one of the third offensive linemen like Kelvin Banks or Josh Simmons or someone like that. But, if the draft were to play out like this, I would not be shocked at all if Omarion Hampton was the pick. And quite frankly, in this worst-case scenario, I wouldn't mind Omarion Hampton. I think it's a little early. But in a draft that's not super top-heavy, I think in that scenario, at least for my big board, the blue chippers would all be gone. I think Hampton's in that next group, and I do think he's a three-down back in the NFL. I like the fit in this Ben Johnson offense, and I like kind of the fit with him and DeAndre Swift as a 1-2 punch. So certainly open to it. Would love it in a scenario where they trade down from 10, 3 to 7 spots and took him somewhere between 13 and 17. But wouldn't hate it at 10. Wouldn't be shocked if he was the pick at 10. Would you be happy with the Omarion Hampton at 10? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I would be in that scenario that I just outlined. Now, if they took him over Tyler Warren, if they took him over Will Campbell or something like that, Wouldn't love that because I just think those are better prospects. But if those group of 5 or 6 players that I really like are all off the board, I'd be fine with it because, I think he's in that group of players that will be under consideration. And I'd certainly rather have Omarion Hampton than Shamar Stewart at 10. So I would type my wife for yes. Let us know what you guys think. Okay, Jonah Jackson, new Bears offensive guard, did an interview with TD.com. Had a few things to say, talked about Caleb Williams, talked about, him bouncing back, being part of a turnaround just like he was in Detroit with the Bears this upcoming season. So we'll kind of dive into that here in just a moment. But first, I do want to tell you guys about today's sponsor. That is Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Bears Now by Chat Sports. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time to make some memories this postseason. If you want to go watch the Bulls host the Heat in the NBA play-in tournament on Wednesday night, there's no better place to do it than getting your tickets with Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down as you get closer to tip-off. Once and often, you can get tickets at a reduced price on the day of the event, even just hours or minutes before it starts. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest ticket price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. You could save up to 60% off by buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. So download the Game Time app today. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase only right now. That is code CHATSPORTS, all one word, for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okay, here's Jonah Jackson via GoLongTD.com. He said, all that matters is how you bounce back, talking about himself and the Bears. I'm excited to get back to it and string a full season together and get a damn ring. I love that. Screw the personal accolades. It's to win it all. The Bears are such a historic franchise, and they've been there before. We're excited to be a part of a turnaround. I've been a part of a turnaround before, and we can definitely do it again. He had a front row seat when the Lions went from a laughingstock to the NFC Championship a couple years ago. He ended up parlaying that into a big contract with LA. Obviously didn't work out last year. They tried to make him a center. That ended up not being a good fit, dealt with some injuries, and now he's on the Bears. We've certainly outlined that. But I like that attitude. Screw the personal accolades. I want to win. I want to win. I want to be a part of this turnaround. I want to get a ring. Now, whether or not that's realistic this year, the ring part, who knows? But that should be the mindset. That should be the goal for just about every team every single year. Obviously, there are exceptions. Like Ryan Poles' first year, there was no scenario where that team was going to be able to win a Super Bowl. But I think there's enough talent on this team that if you're a player in that locker room, that should be the goal. Again, whether or not that's actually attainable in 2025, that remains to be seen. A lot has to go right. Caleb Williams has to take a big jump. The defense has to get a better pass rush. The O-line has to live up to the billing that the investment has been made. Jonah Jackson staying healthy and getting back to Pro Bowl form certainly has to be a part of that. But the Bears are trying to make that happen, right? They're trying to invest in the right spaces. You give Drew Dalman a big contract, the top free agent center. You go trade for a 4-time All-Pro and 4-time Super Bowl champion in Joe Thuney. You bring in Jonah Jackson, a player that Ben Johnson believes in and brings an attitude and grit to an offensive line. Like, you look at just this. I saw this graphic going around Twitter, this list, I should say, and the Bears all of a sudden – 4th highest paid O-line in the NFL, whereas they've consistently been bottom 5, bottom 10 for years and years and years. What's the old adage? You get what you pay for. More often than not, that's the case. Panthers are a good example. All of a sudden, Bryce Young looked at least formidable a year ago. I think the investment in the offensive line, big reason why. Chuba Hubbard, big year. They invest in the O-line. They're finally investing properly in an area where you need to. Now, you know, when you pay Caleb Williams $60 million per year in a couple of years, if he works out, yeah, you got to pick and choose where you invest. But when you have a young player of his caliber, you got to protect him, and they did not do that a year ago. Speaking of Caleb Williams, Jonah Jackson talked about his new quarterback. He said, look, he took 68 sacks. He was still fighting, still clawing. You keep him safe. You keep his eyes downfield and away from the rush. He can have fun back there and slice and dice things up. And I think that line, keep his eyes downfield, is probably something we haven't talked about enough here. Too many times last year, and we saw this with Justin a little bit as well. Now, not comparing Caleb to Justin, different quarterbacks, Caleb's a better pocket guy, all that stuff. But the eyes dip too often. And why do your eyes dip? We saw it with Mahomes in the Super Bowl. When you don't trust the protection, your eyes dip. You're looking where the rush is coming from because you don't trust the 5 guys in front of you. You're not going to say that out loud. Caleb said all the right things last year, but when you don't trust the protection, your eyes start to dip as a quarterback, and you miss opportunities. And look, in the NFL, you got 2.5, if you're lucky, 3 seconds to deliver the football to a receiver. If your eyes are dipping 2 seconds in, you got no shot from play to play. So investing in the trenches, keeping those eyes downfield, going through your progressions in year 2 here for Caleb after learning this system, which obviously is going to take some time, is going to be huge. And if he can trust those guys up front, the Jonah Jacksons, the Joe Thuneys of the world, especially on the interior, quarterbacks will always say, man, that interior rush, that really can throw QBs off. They'd much rather face pressure off the edge. That's why they added 3 new starters on the interior. If that group can be sound, then there's no reason why Caleb Williams can't make major leaps in year 2 in the NFL and in year 1 under Ben Johnson. What say you? Will Caleb Williams take off this year? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Take off's kind of one of a vague phrase. Like, will he get to where we were hoping he would be when we drafted him number 1, when the Bears invested? I think that's possible. Now, does that mean he's an MVP guy this year? Probably not, but, top 12 quarterback, maybe top 10. He's got the talent. The pieces are starting to be formed around him. They got the best offensive coach out there. Assuming they add a good running back and can run the football, while we got to give it some time, it's kind of going to be on Caleb at that point. So big year coming up for number 18, and I don't see why it can't be a big year for him. All right, appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of Chicago Bears Now. 10 days away from the NFL draft. This is the channel to be for all Bears coverage. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the 120,000 strong here on Bears Now.